Hello and welcome back to the channel and to part two of me talking with my daughter about the box office, the movies, and all the stuff that's going on. But specifically now we're going to Masters of the Universe, which we just talked about has unfortunately like a sadly has a disappointing box office at the moment. Might have legs. It's only 2 weeks in the theaters, so it's not like it's impossible for it to continue on and do more. I'm not even sure that it's opened in Japan yet, outside of outside of where you saw it, but it's still gonna get, uh, I believe, sequel. I don't think they're gonna cancel the plans that they had for it. It's gonna go on. It's interesting to me that people love Travis Knight, which was the director of the movie. And we'll get quickly into the movie here in just a moment. But he did Bumblebee, which is like the lowest grossing Transformers movie. I think even the Age of Beasts or whatever that's called, the more recent one, did better than Bumblebee. I think it did. I'm not 100% sure about that. Somebody could check that. But um you know, but people still praise Bumblebee as one of the best of the Transformers movies and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's not necessarily the box office is not necessarily representative of how good this movie is, and I have several thoughts about why. I think that a lot of news came out about it saying it was this, and they theorized about things that were in it and said this is going to be very geared toward um, uh, modern emasculating and stuff like that happens. And I think the exact opposite is actually true of the movie. But we're going to get right into talking about the movie. Uh, do you want to go through it scene by scene? You want to give your thoughts about it yourself? Uh, you tell me, Callista. Where do you want to go with this?
We can go scene by scene, but my thoughts are I loved it. And this is
Love it
coming from
overall.
someone who didn't really watch like the cartoons. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't seen the Netflix show. I have seen the movie with what is it, Dolph Lundgren?
Dolph Lundgren and Franklin Jella,
Am I saying that right?
which is 1987, and really it's an okay movie. It's pretty good. I went and watched it again just recently, and it's like this is pretty cool. And it's that good really because Franklin Jella makes that good villain, and Dolph Lundgren really embodies He-Man in a certain way. It's a little bit different than the cartoons. It doesn't directly come out of it, so there was some disappointment from certain fans. Of course, Canon was just this low budget, you know, problematic studio that also put out Superman 4 the same year, The Quest for Peace, and just nightmares in development and the way that they did the movie and stuff like that. It's just, and there's a lot of sort of disappointment for various reasons from people that um, watched the show and grew up with it, and it was really really close to that time because it's '83 that the cartoons began, so you're talking about just a few years later, and I remember getting magazines and different things that were showing the the behind the scenes kind of stuff. Like we watch YouTube now to see all these kind of behind the scenes stuff mostly, but back when I was young, back in this is nearly 40, or well, right around 40 years ago, it was in development and we were seeing pictures. Oh, there's a picture of Dolph Lundgren in this He-Man outfit that wasn't the cartoon style. And so we're like, okay, it's interesting. I don't know here or there what we're going to think about it. And of course, the original cartoon was really based much on the toys to sell the toys, so it looked like the toys. and the toys had very similar body features to them. There's just a few different kinds of body styles. So everybody was a built, jacked, strong man in the toys for the most part. And you saw that Adam looked exactly the same as He-Man. This is the worst kept secret identity in the world is Adam and He-Man. It's like, how could you not tell? Cringer grows a couple of little spots, supposedly. Of course, the toy itself was just a cat. It's a repurposed form from another toy line, and they colored it green and orangish, and so it's it's interesting. The cartoons then progressed into the remake in the 2000s, where Adam is smaller and I guess he was about 16 years old, supposed to be, and he becomes He Man, which was a super jacked He Man, bigger. Um, and the same thing with the Netflix. You see him as kind of the small, apparently very toned person, but then he becomes He Man and he's absolutely humongous, bigger than any man that's out there. So um, I've seen criticisms of the movie. It's like he's not this little guy, and I'm like, well, he wasn't then. They kind of mixed that because he's in clothing that makes him look a little bit smaller, in the movie, this new movie. And then in the transformation scene, if you watch it, the first transformation, it goes over and shows his body increasing in size, getting bigger. And then, of course, he's more jacked, but not as big as some people were just hoping he would be. Like, I think that was unrealistic to hope that he would be twice the size of The Rock in his prime or something like that. It's kind of crazy because that wasn't what
Yeah.
I grew up with as a toy. I'm like, no, he's not that big. He was bigger in other cartoon series, and I think that some people got that mixed up in my idea of why they were criticizing it. And for me, it worked really well. I watched the movie and I was like, I enjoyed it very much, so much so that I've seen it a number of times. Again, won't say how many times, but I I may even go see it again because it's just to me it is that good, and the lessons behind it are that good. Now this is full spoilers. If somebody doesn't want to know about spoilers, then don't watch this video. But it's been out for a couple of weeks, so we get all the spoilers in here. So little bit piece by piece, it opens up narrating where Adam comes from, and you don't know why for sure. You find out why pretty quick. Um, but then it goes, of course, to Eternia scenes. He's telling the story, and then it shows him as a child. Pretty much a day in the life. The day that he's going to be sent to Earth, basically, to protect him, because Skeletor comes to attack. But it starts out with um, a whole animated sequence that was really cool to me, and it showed again. It kind of did a foretelling of this person that's wielding the sword in the clouds. If you remember that, when he wields the sword, raises the sword up, his body morphs to a slightly stronger form. And I was like, that's interesting. That's the way I would foresee it. That's the way I would have portrayed it. I think Travis Knight did a very good job as far as bringing old stuff in, kind of recreating it a little bit, and then going on with it. Um, but yeah, that's how it starts. Is that little animated kind of sequence goes into showing the sword in Castle Grayskull. Brief glimpse of the sorceress there, turning around or doing something with her hands first and turning around facing the sword and whatever's going on there. and just the narration of Adam is quirky. It's interesting. It's kind of awkward, if you will, and there's a reason why. Um, but then it goes into the scenes of him being a child. He's about to go into to fighting or arms combat, and of course teams up with Tila there. Duncan, or Man at Arms, played magnificently by Idris Elba. Um, uh, is heading that up, of course. Gives them a talking to. This movie, honestly, it's 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 a children's movie, but it's a children's movie for people that are more grown up too, and uses more language than I would have thought they would have had, especially there. He just keeps
Yeah.
on talking. It's like, okay, men at arms, that's enough. I think you got your point across. But that whole scene to me is really fun and interesting. I watch it kind of carefully each time. He, you see, from a distance, the king walks up and he's talking to Man at Arms. He's watching Adam. Adam's dancing to distract Tila. He's like, "Can we just talk about this?" But he's getting hit at the same time, and then he knocks the stick out of Tila's hand. And of course, Duncan makes that funny comment. Well, he did disarm her. I laugh at that every single time he says that. It was like great. Um, and of course, after that, his dad comes in and and attacks him. And every time I see it, I'm like, wow, he's like kind of holding his own, defending himself. His dad pushes him down on the ground, and you see where it's going as far as it's telling one or two stories, and I think it's a perception thing. That's what I got out of it, because he then is, Duncan has him stand up as his dad's walking away, saying when he turns around and see a man, and he never turns around. And later on, there's the comment about him, like his dad emasculating him and putting him down and stuff. But um, he walks away, of course, to be alone. Tila follows him, and then Skeletor comes and attacks, and it goes through the first great battle sequence, and you see Fisto and Trapjaw and uh, Ram Man and so forth. It's just like you see a bunch of different characters just show up. Of course, during that opening sequence was a small cringer, which is probably the most insulting of the characters, really, toward Adam, at least at the beginning of it. Um, so, but that was cool. I thought that the CGI for Cringer was good the whole time, but yeah, and there's
Mhm.
little jokes here, and just little joke, little joke. It's real fun that there's so many funny things stated in there, little jokes. Not necessarily tongue in cheek. It's just humor that's properly placed in the movie. The tongue in cheek stuff kind of comes from, I call it tongue in cheek. Either is innuendo, um, and that's supposed to be very subtle kind of stuff, or it's uh, or it's something that people will recognize that have watched shows, and they're the ones that will say that's funny because it comes from this, or that's funny because uh, it's whatever they played with the toys, and it's a variety of different things. So anyway, that first setup, of course, is him talking to a date and telling her his story, which is oversharing, you know. But as you told
Nah.
me when we were off that it would have worked for you, I'm like, okay, and yeah, sure, okay, whatever. Maybe he
Well, it worked
overdid
on
it, but
me.
he overdid it by pouring a Coke into the glass. That's when he lost me. It was Coca Cola. But anything that stands out to you on that, and I may make one more comment. Oh, she's tired.
Sorry.
Sorry, it's okay.
It's like 4 a.m. Um, I don't know. I really enjoyed the opening scene. I think I think I probably laughed out loud when I realized that he was saying all of that to a date and not just, like, to us, you know? I think that was a really cool, like, really hilarious
I
way to go
was
about
I was more like the
an
roommate. It's like,
intro to a
what are
movie.
you doing, bro? That's what I was saying.
A little bit, but I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
She's missing out. Yeah. But, no, I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed the all of you didn't mention, like, Skeletor's scenes in the beginning.
Hmm. I was gonna
Those
let you do
were
it.
hilarious. Thank
They
you.
were. Well,
The
it was two things.
I
It
can't
was
remember everything
intimidating but
perfectly, but
hilarious at the same time.
yeah, it would just, like it
This
was, like, you think it's gonna be really serious, and then all of a sudden he's like, that means it's over. I'm done talking."
I say before that, he's
Oh, that
walking
was the
up.
best.
He was walking up, and it was all intimidations. Like, don't you forgot what lurked in the dark? And then he says, "It was me. I lurked." It's like the deadpanness of it is funny because it's supposed to be somewhat intimidating, but it's hilarious the way he says it. And yes, and you don't even realize the actor when you're seeing that too. And I'll point out to
I
anybody that's
completely
wondering,
forgot.
yeah, Jared Leto did that, and he's wearing a bodysuit in the film. They replace his face, but that figure is not CGI and stuff like that. And I've watched it enough times to try to watch really carefully to see if they were CGIing muscle movements and stuff, which could have been pretty cool to make his body flex in certain ways. But it's like they didn't change it at all that I could tell. They did not. It seems like they did not CGI anything to make it look better. So that's all bodysuit. Of course, in action scenes, there's stunt doubles and stuff like that. People that do things, but his acting in that is him doing that. But yeah, the whole sequence is very funny, and at the same time, before it gets to the jokey part at the end of it, it's still funny, but it's also that intimidation. It's that mix of the crazy cartoonish version, which is beloved, and for good reason, with more of the voice toward the Franklin Jella. It's not exactly, but it plays it more serious and plays it as this is an intimidating, formidable character. He's not a joke per se, and I thought that was just beautifully played, beautifully. Um, and to me, the telling of the story by Adam means that's his perception of things. That's the way he remembers it. It's not necessarily exactly how it was, you know? And that to me is important. And at the same time, it seems he got a lot right because uh, it's for the critics to say it's something like toxic masculinity with Dad and Duncan and stuff like that. It's like that's nonsense. They're telling him a good thing. Be strong. This is a dangerous world. They're trying to teach him how to fight if he needs to fight, and 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 that's
Mhm.
in there. Although it sort of shows his perception of it may have been more like, yeah, I didn't grow through it enough. Of course, it's only showing one day in the life. That's the day,
Mhm.
and that's the day Skeletor attacked. And it's it. And then they're fleeing from Skeletor. Of course, there's this great Trapjaw versus Man at Arms fight, which was beautiful, amazing. It's great to see that club when he pulled the club down and then came across and hit Trapjaw across the head. That is beautiful. And there's a lot of, you know, um, violence in this movie that's not toned way down for cartoonish things. It doesn't make it so much the 80s cartoon. It has a lot of teenage, the way that we would play with the toys when we were young. 'Cause I went down the street from my house and played with those toys over at a friend's house, and went across the street to the neighbor's house and had the He-Man stuff, and we'll talk about that some other time though. But the way we played with the toys was, it's all imagination, of course, but it's just, we played with them, along those lines. So this is more, a little bit more adult, more violent than the 87 movie. The 87 movie, though, even had some for little children. It's a little more scary violence than you would maybe expect from the toy line. So anyway, um, but moving on. Anything more about that? Like I said, I thought that the fight scene with Trapjaw and Man at Arms was really good. Um, just a whole
I
lot
did
in there.
too. I was like the whole time I was kinda on the edge of my seat because I thought he was gonna die.
Yeah. Well,
And I didn't want him to die
I
because
never had
I
that
just
fear.
I had just started liking the character,
Yeah.
and I was like and then when, like, the bomb was there, I was like, "There's no way he's gonna die right now." Him and
And
what,
Tila.
Tila?
Tila came
I
to
was
help him
like,
up.
"There's no way they're gonna die right now."
Oh man, and it
And then
it
they
was
jumped out the window, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
is
But
so
maybe they weren't
good
maybe they
too.
died, but, oh, okay.
That to me is so good because he's like, I failed, and so uh, a criticism might be that they maybe overplay that he failed kind of thing because he didn't necessarily fail that bad, but he does let him through. He does get knocked out briefly, but at the same time he sees that bomb clicking and grabs Tila protectively and leaps out the window backward. You don't see him land. He falls down, and that's the last you see of Tila until later, and Man at Arms till later. Um, but that whole he rescues her in that moment too. Uh, just recognizing the danger that was there, and what comes up later in the film with him saying, when this thing that's bad is about to happen, you protect your family, you protect your loved ones so that they have a future. And that was exactly what he did in that moment. So it has that callback to it. And it's beautifully played. I mean, um, there's several moments throughout this film that I start to tear up, and sit there and when I'm thinking about it, because I may be putting certain things and thoughts into it that may or may not be there, but at that moment makes me tear up a little bit. It's like this thought that he failed, but even in the moment of um his being downcast, you know, which leads to him staying downcast, though he still does what's necessary, and that's to me a very important lesson too. Um, but we got to move. We got to move. We got to move. We got to go. Um,
Almost bedtime.
But yeah, there's that. This is just the opening scene. Of course, it cuts to the date. He comes home from that to a roommate. That ongoing joke in it is him watching these romantic movies or whatever. Um, the the Notebook was the first one, the breaking up in the breakup scene or whatever, and then 10 Things I Hate About You later on, and after Adam gets the sword. And again, it's a day. It shows that night, and then the next day um, goes into, well, that night I should say. At the end of the date, he goes to his Adam goes to his room, and he's got all his drawings and stuff and memories of Eternia, and so it shows a few of those drawings, um, uh, Castle Grayskull and stuff like that. Uh, which I didn't even mention that. It's like it shows Castle Grayskull in this. It's just like, wow, that's beautiful. It's different than the original toys, but it's just beautifully done. Just the way that it's been updated or created for this movie. I think Eternia itself just looked beautiful in all the things um, as Adam presented it. And to me, it set up a world that's that could be super huge and should be. Um, any future movies should not return to Earth. There should be no reason to touch back at Earth and just go on with the Eternia stuff. You can go to different places in Eternia and so forth. But we'll get into some of that later on. But again, he goes through those drawings, and he wakes up the next day. This is late for work, I guess. Hurries up. There's all kinds of little jokes and Easter eggs in there, which we shouldn't talk too much about. But he's posting his sword, and then there's a coworker talking about uh, truth, and her truth, and somebody else's truth, or whatever they're talking about. It's this whole joke, um, and making fun of modern corporate culture and the workspace and the DEI and all the stuff that's happened in the last several years. To me, it plays it really well, um, and shows Adam
Mhm.
and what he's doing and the way he's talking, which he says he's good at his job later on, uh, in trying to resolve conflict. And I thought his line was really good, where he said, "There seems to be a lot of truth telling, but not a lot of truth listening," which is so true about people saying, "This is my truth." Like, yeah, you're not listening to anybody else say anything, though. So you have this issue with yourself. And the woman is oblivious to it. She goes, "Huh?" It was great. Um, to me, the whole thing with then the boss lady, uh, and to me it's all jokes. It's making fun of the whole thing, and I hope that people understood that instead of thinking it was being serious and like saying, "This is how Adam learned how to da da da," and he's going to teach his lessons to us later. No, it wasn't like that at all. It was making fun of it. Even the callback later on in the movie, which we'll talk about hopefully when we get to that. But does anything stand out from that point? He posts that sword again, gets uh, talked down to by the boss. Threatened his job and everything. What stands out to you before we get to the other scene, next scene, sword scene?
In in which scene? What stand up in the boss scene?
Well, the whole corporate scene before he leaves.
Um, he looked tired the entire time. I thought that was hilarious.
Like
Because honestly,
bored or
just
something. Yeah,
so like the entire time, like he was drinking coffee, it was like he was not there.
he's rolling his
Which
eyes
is
at the cliches.
honestly
That's what it was. It's like I forget the
Yeah, and
lines
then
from the lady, but she goes, uh, "Feel each other consensually" or something like that. It was just so stupid.
I really liked the boss's character. I thought that was, like, hilarious.
Mega serious face right now or something. Like, oh my goodness.
But yeah, I whenever it was in the office scene, I thought that was one of my favorite of, like, the forgotten the word, the, like, Earth
Earth
scenes,
World. Okay. Yeah.
one of my favorite, just because it was timed so well, and it was just, like, kind of like a back and forth between, like, her and the phone and him, I think if I remember correctly, like, the camera angles and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and and she's like, don't, don't,
It's played
don't,"
really well. I
and
see
then
her.
he's
I see
and
her
then he
finger.
grabbed it, and I like, I can
I can
see
see
you
you.
moving towards the phone right now. Yeah, I thought that was really funny.
Yep. When
That was really
he
entertaining to
runs out the
watch.
door, and she says, "You can kiss this place goodbye, consensually." So it's full. That thing is full of funny. And of course, he then goes to the shop, which is named after a playset from the '80s, the Fright Zone, and a comic book memorabilia shop because it's definitely got comic books there. You can see that. And he's going around and talking, and there's silliness ensuing from all that. Finally, the guy shows up who said,
We asked
"You'll
every
know
single
me."
person in the store.
It is hilarious that he says, "You'll know who I am." That's what it stuck with me.
Like,
Is
I've
like,
never
how
seen
am
you
I
before, but
supposed to know
okay.
you? Yeah. And then when he shows up, you're like, how was I supposed to know it was you? Yeah. At first, I thought he would be carrying the sword around when it was said, but I was like, but no, he walks up and he sees the sword in the hand, so obviously that's not, just briefly, my brain goes to who he's going to be carrying the sword, so you'll know who he is. Um, but yeah, it was crazy. Um, and then the whole wrestling, that's hilarious to me. He's wrestling for the sword, and after the arm pops off, this is what stands out to
Yeah.
me. The arm popped off, and then he just barely, ploop, it just pops right off of the sword. Like there's no struggle
Did
at
it?
all.
I missed that.
Yeah, it's funny.
That's so much funnier now.
It's crazy. I'd love to see an explanation or anything, but
The dialogue in that scene was really good too. He's like, "No, it's
it's
mine.
mine.
It's my sword." And then at the end, she's like, what does she say? Like, "Can I have your
At the
number?" or
very
something like
end,
that, or
yeah,
"Call
are
me."
you
I don't know.
single? The line was, "Are
Very
you single?"
single. Yeah, that was funny.
He bounds out the door and then tries to jump over his hood and gets stuck and falls off the car. So funny.
Yeah,
And of
that was
course,
good.
uh, goes home again. The
Gets
roommate's sitting there
arrested.
watching the thing and wakes up the next morning. Cops pop
Yeah.
in. They got I guess discount Melissa McCarthy trying to play the one girl cop because she tries to tell a joke like that. And the Highlander joke, you know why? Highlander's being produced by this same company. Highlander with Henry Cavill, which is still in production right now. So looking forward to that. And also looking forward to Voltron coming out, even though they apparently are only going to put it on Prime. That's going to be another huge thing. Um, but that's just my uh, throwing out there for Henry Cavill. Um, who was in the Gray, by the way, that recently came out. Probably I want to say it's an Apple, but I'm not sure. Um,
Yeah.
but that to me it was a good movie. I enjoyed that, but I'm not going to keep going on with it. If you didn't see it, you'll
I
enjoy it
wanna
when you
see
see it. I think you'll enjoy it. Um, but yeah, so that's we've gotten to the cops. There, of course, the cops are taking him in, um, trying to make jokes about him having the sword, Highlander. Um, and Beast Man appears, and they have the needle drop of what's going on, and I laugh every single time because Adam says that right as it's starting to play. He's going, "What's going on?" So that's the inside joke that if you don't know, you don't know. It's still interesting, to watch play. But if you know, you chuckle more. You laugh a little bit more. Um, those of you who don't know, just go to YouTube and look up what's going on He-Man, and you'll see. And um, and I forget exactly how it happens because the song stops and then score music comes in right at a certain point, and I forget exactly where it is. Um, uh, but as I watched it over and over again, I saw it. You get to notice a couple other things each time you watch it. Uh, but I just noticed it, so be on the lookout for it next time you see that scene. Um, and who shows up when he's being attacked by Beastman? Come on.
Tila.
Tila shows up. And Tila shows up, and her hair is up, and she's got this crown, and it looks much like the cartoon, but it doesn't last because she had blasted, Beastman out of the way. She knocked him down with this rifle gun, whatever she got there. And since she's talking to Adam, she's trying to help him up. Beastman comes from nowhere off screen, of course, and smacks her, uh, jumps into her, and uh, it it does. It's unexpected. It's like you're kind of thinking something's going to happen, but it's ultimately it is still unexpected. You take a little jump, from that. Somebody in one review called it a jump scare. I wouldn't really call it a jump scare per se, but you know, it very suddenly she's knocked off screen, and that knocks her hair down. So then her hair is down from then. Um, uh, but anyway, uh, that whole sequence to me is fun, interesting. It's kind of odd too at the same time. Um, I don't know how to describe it. I think they did very well with the special effects and all that, the CGI with it. But I guess like I caught this several times was it seems like the movie is edited down quite a bit. There's little things that should be in there. The first time you see Fisto punching somebody, comes in punching, he's coming in overhand, and when it cuts to behind him punching the guy, he's doing an uppercut kind of shot. So they cut out another scene of somebody, punching or something. Um, but I don't know
Mhm.
what it was. Why exactly? Because I have a fear that he was coming at the screen, with his fists like they do in the cartoons, and there was this like flash or something, and and then he goes to another guy and uppercuts him, and so they wanted to take out the slight goofy callback of that '80s, way of showing action and violence, without actually showing the contact and stuff like that. Somewhat. I mean, they're still in there, but so I want to say this whole thing, that stuff. There's little bits cut out from the encounter with Beastman here and there, but I think the whole thing is enjoyable. Of course, they jump off the bridge and Adam falls, you know, and lands flat and gets hit by a
Yeah.
car briefly. It's all funny. Uh, and they get to the ship, That was another really funny part to me. Again, the ship talking, the way that the ship talked. There were several jokes about how the ship was saying things, and she just says, "Ship, open the door" or something like that. It's the way that she said it. It was like, yeah, that's again playing with the toys. That's what we would have said as children, something like that. We're not going to run up, press some buttons and stuff. We're just like, "Ship, open the doors," and we open the door up because that's the way that the toys worked and stuff. Um, that or, it had a different way of doing so. But anyway, the point is, I think that was very, very funny the way the ship talked. Um, like when they were leaving, warping space. He said warping space and getting weird to throw in, you know,
Mm,
what she said just before that. It's just like little jokes and 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 not taking itself too seriously, uh, or say as serious as maybe like the
right.
'87 movie. Make it fun, but also not completely insulting the thing too. Uh,
Mhm.
at times, I
Not
think some of
completely like
that,
the cartoon and not
right,
completely
and the
like
cartoon,
maybe other movie or more serious,
yeah, and the
having
cartoon
fun.
is campy, and you're supposed to laugh at it and stuff like that. Um, but
Yeah.
there's a difference between making fun of that and paying homage to it and being somewhat
Mhm.
silly and at the same time somewhat campy, but also saying, yeah, but we're a little more serious than just a children's
Right.
cartoon. Um, and I think they did that well. There's a few times that they tell some jokes. It's like, you said it too many times. That would be a little too much. Um, like Thor: Love and Thunder, you got the screaming goats. I laugh like crazy the first few times those screaming goats come on and just screaming. Like that's funny. And then just as you're getting very annoyed by it, he does it a couple more times through the movie. Like, okay, I got annoyed by it 3 hits ago. That's when you should have stopped. And they didn't
Yeah,
stop.
a screaming joke, I feel like, depending on how you use it, can be used, like, maybe maybe 3 times to be funny, maybe 4 to 5 to be you're bored,
You're
you
getting borderline. Yeah, that's
now
exactly where they were.
now stop. Like,
And they gave it,
4,
and they kept
maybe
going.
4.5, uh,
Yeah. And they,
we're
they
at the
did that
limit.
with some of the jokes that they tell and some of the more adultish
Yeah,
humor. They're like, you
I
stepped
noticed that,
just
and I was like,
2 times too
"That's"
far, and you probably should have stopped right back there. Um, but yeah, it was interesting. So, and we haven't even gotten back to them. We're in the warped space kind of thing right now. It's just early still. Um, but I thought
um,
Beastman's um, uh, the way that they did Beastman was really good. The character, what do you call it? The character production, I guess, is the best way to say it. Just what he looked like. I thought that was really good. It wasn't too cartoonish, but it played toward it. And in the '87 movie, he's a beast. He's done not talking or anything like that. Whereas he's definitely, a talker. At the same
mhm,
time, he's still a beast. It was good. It didn't play it for him being too stupid or anything. It was good, and it didn't show all his powers. It set him up to go to the next thing. The next time we see Beastman, um, he has this like I want to say this like kind of mind control or mind um, thing with other animals. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Is when they do a sequel, they get to show showcase these other powers, and we get to see maybe Merman next time, and just all these other characters we didn't get to see yet this time. But I thought what
Probably
was
gonna
there is
see
really good. What's that?
probably gonna see somebody. In seeing somebody.
Somebody. Well, I mean, there's a whole lot of characters. You have to tell me who you're thinking. So that's the Tila
I
rescue.
mean, do you want me to say it now, or we say it at the end
If you
for
want
the
to
end
wait till
scene
the end, we
talk?
can go to toward the end.
We
We can do
can
that.
wait till the end.
So in this, Tila is of course um, a great warrior, but she's supposed to be, and I think there's some criticism about her, and the most accurate criticism is there's really not a making fun of Tila kind of thing. Um, Whereas the other characters, there's some making fun of. I don't have a problem with that because the way I see the movie and the lessons that are taught, it's about men, right? And men are always making fun of each other, putting each other down, playing around with each, jiving at each other, poking fun at each other and stuff like that. So, and less so to women. Women are not treated like men by real men, and that's a big problem in the world we live in today, where women try to act too much like men the way they think of men and stuff like that. It's just we're in a situation where it's bad, and I think that this portrayed it well. They're not making fun of, you know, women. She's adored in certain ways, um, it, and we could run through that if you wanted to, but he's of course in the ship looking at her like, wow, you've grown up, you've gotten so big, or and they play that off jokingly, um, to the awkwardness of Adam, which is perfectly fine. It's in the character to me, and it was really good, really well done, and uh, not to jump ahead or anything, but then they of course arrive at Eternia, and it's in tatters compared to what you saw earlier. This just what was messed up and everything, because of Skeletor, and Skeletor has ruined Eternos, um, with the attacks, and also it's gotten worse than just the attacks. I would say, just the neglect and running people away from that area. There's no rebuilding going on or anything. He just leaves it in shambles and makes it worse. And that's evil for you, that's he makes no pretense to trying to make anything better. It's not even changed to be like Snake Mountain, because they go to Snake Mountain here in just a little bit. It's not like they at Snake Mountain they've got all these bone stuff on there's all these decorations, skeleton decorations, which you may miss the first time if you're watching it. But there's all these decorations around that Skeletor, he doesn't go and try to change Eternos to make it Skeletor 2.0 or something like that. You know, um, Snake Mountain 2.0 or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, uh, all that is very interesting. Of course, he's after the sword. He was after the sword at the beginning of it. He was wanting the power. Um, but Eternia is in ruins. They go and to where the other uh, people of Eternia are hiding. The captain of the guard or whatever they want to call it. And so they meet up with Fisto and Ram Man and have some silly interactions there. Um, and the character Dion, I think it was Dion, uh, or Diane. He said something else, I want to say. But anyway, do you know who that is? Dion.
No.
So
I was trying
Dion,
to figure it out the whole time, but I
yeah,
couldn't
you kind of like got to go
remember.
to a behind the scenes or know who she is. But Dion, the character, the person that played the character, was the stunt woman for Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. So she did all the stunts. So she finally gets to play a character in the movie, just not be seen as a stunt character. And I assume she did most of the stunts herself too, that she does a little bit later where there's a good action sequence. But yeah, it just I don't there. It seems like there were a couple of girl characters that existed in the toys, and there were definitely some girl characters that existed in the shows that they could have done instead of just introducing a new character. She is definitely a new character, as far as I can find, and I've searched around for it. But she's a new character, and they didn't really need to do that. They could have pulled somebody, from the canon, and and played with that. But um, even the new Kevin Smith one, they have uh, a a, uh, a companion for Tila, friend, companion, man at arms in training kind of thing. That is another female, black female, played by Tiffany Smith or voiced by Tiffany Smith uh, in that show. So they could have done that. They could have used her because they brought a few things in from all the different lores. They kind of mixed and matched stuff. Played a lot toward the 80s, but they also brought in a little bit here and there from other places. Just from me watching it, I'm like, oh, that came from there. That came from that. Um, and but anyway, they're in Eternia now. They're meeting people, and then they're of course thrown into the dungeon, which almost doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Why'd they throw Tila into the dungeon? Why wasn't she part of their
Yeah,
discussion?
I was confused because I thought she was part of their group, and I was like,
Yeah. But her
uh,
dad is there.
I
So,
didn't
and why
understand.
is her dad locked up in the dungeon too? I don't know.
Probably because he's a drunk. That's what I assumed.
But why is
Probably
it?
because he's so much of a drunk that like
Yeah.
he just
So he's
needs
just playing Otis
to
from
stay put.
from Andy Griffith's show. He's just locked up for the night. But that whole thing was hilarious too. They're trying to escape, and he says, "No, no, I'm staying right here by this vomit." Like, what? That was a
Yeah.
hilarious line. Um, and the whole thing is enjoyable. What else did you think about that sequence there?
Um, I was most of the talking between Adam and the other characters and stuff. I was trying to stay focused so I could understand. I felt like a lot of it kind of went over my head because I don't know the characters. Obviously did not know who the girl was,
Hmm.
but you just told me she's not even like
Yeah, she's a
really a
new character.
character. But the cell scene, I thought I think I realized either shortly before they revealed it or something that it was Man-at-Arms or something like that. I
Hmm.
can't remember when I realized, but I feel like I realized before she said, like, "dad" or something like that, but I don't
Right.
maybe I'm lying to myself. But I thought that whole scene was very funny with, what's her name? The robot?
Well, the
Of
Roboto's the name. The person who played it is Kristen Wiig, which you know her from like the female Ghostbusters. She's I want to say the Peter
Oh,
Venkman kind of
yeah?
character there. The sort of tall, skinny one.
Oh, I know who Kristen Wiig is. I don't know what I'm yeah, I know exactly who that is.
Yeah,
I
I'm trying to think
Yeah.
of other stuff she's in
I'm
too, but
Bridesmaids, right?
yeah, and I don't know her much from that, so
It
I've never actually watched that
I
movie. So
watched that, so I'm I'm aware of that.
yeah, she's
Um,
in stuff. She's in
yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
bunch
yeah.
of stuff. So
Okay. Yeah, but I thought that whole scene was very funny.
mm.
Um, I'm struggling to remember everything right now. I'm just
Yeah. Well, I like the
I
part where she picks up Duncan,
I liked
just
the
drags
whole
him right out of
movie,
the
though.
screen. Yeah, it's full of all kinds of fun things, and
Oh, I with Tila doing all the banging on the door,
yep,
and then
trying to work
the
the
robot just
the
immediately just, like,
just walks
pushing it
out.
out off just blowing it off the hinges, just walking out. That was funny. That was hilarious.
It was.
That's the kind of humor that I like. That's, like, somebody struggling to do something that I don't know, I like.
Yeah,
That's
and
funny to me, so
she's trying the codes. She goes to ramming into the door, trying to knock it down, and then she breaks it open, tries to hotwire it. None of it's working. It plays sort of like Han Solo on the Forest Moon, where he's trying to work it. It's not working. It's not. Um, R2D2 comes in. He tries to hotwire it. Doesn't work. In fact, I think I got it, and the doors close. It gets worse for Han Solo. But yeah, that whole thing was funny, and she's dismissive to the robot. This is the one thing kind of brings her character down too, though, is she's very dismissive to the robot. Um, you could look at the door thing a couple different ways. She doesn't succeed in getting it open. So, um, to those critics that make her Mary Sue, she can do anything. Like, no, she didn't. Obviously, she didn't do just anything.
and like, they
You know.
showed us that she couldn't.
Yeah, but people don't think about that. They only look at the other part, and you know, they only look at the part that says, "Well, she's never really made fun of in the movie," and that's true. And again, I think there's a reason for that. Um, but yeah, it's great seeing the robot. He, whatever roboto is, who just walks through the door and and says what she says. Drags Duncan out. He's sitting there yelling that he can walk, and they're escaping. Uh, that the whole sequence is just great. They're escaping. The fact that Tila runs up and jumps where you don't know because you haven't seen that area yet. She just leaps, and of course they question it. Did she just jump? And she
Yeah.
slides down that one place, and then Duncan falls down. That was hilarious, and just tumbles down. Um, and the other two just slide in behind. It's all very 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 fun, very action filled. Then of course they're headed to meet up with Roboto, which is standing by the ship with a bunch of his goons, and then they have the discussion. Adam's like conflict resolution. I can we're gonna have a dialogue. I love the fact that he shoots at his feet and is like, oh, okay, so I'm backing off or whatever. I forget the exact words and stuff, but all that was very funny leading up to it. Him running into Trapjaw and struggling and pushing his feet back, and the whole thing is hilarious to me. And how it turns around, of course, that's the transformation scene. What did you think about the transformation scene? I think three things stand out to me in that moment. Um, what jumps out, or what do you think about what happened then? You only saw it the one time, so you got a little bit of a disadvantage.
Um, I feel like I feel like it was a little I don't wanna say long, but I feel like they did that on purpose to make the joke that they make later in the movie, like him being naked floating in the air. Wasn't he floating in the air? I think he was floating, but
Uh-huh.
I think that was, like, long. If I might be just misremembering the scene. I liked it though. I
Yeah.
Whoa. I enjoyed the scene. I thought it
I
was a
know what you
good
mean.
scene. I can't remember, like, every little detail about it, except that they I think they made a joke in that moment too about him being naked also, because they made, like, at least 2
Not about
funny
him
jokes in the
being
movie about
naked,
that.
and he's not
About him he's
he's covered by shadow, where he needs to be.
yeah,
But yeah, they
or,
strip
like
his clothes. They make a joke about his clothes being gone. Um, a little bit later, but um, I thought it played really well. I didn't feel it was too long because
no.
it's the
I
first
Yeah.
transformation scene. They're trying to show it and again that kind of mixes different years too, because when they go through and they show close up go along his arm, all of it is getting bigger. It's intensifying across his
Mhm.
chest and everything. His muscles are rippling and getting toned and bigger, even though it's not much bigger. Obviously, the actors is did what he did to get to that size, which is much bigger than he has been in previous films, and you may not have seen many of them. I wouldn't watch one of them. It's like never watch that movie again. But that's not necessarily because of him. That's just because of what it was. But yeah, the transformation scene was trying to do like a few different things. It's trying to make it epic because everybody wanted something epic. You know, in the cartoon, it was it was an expensive sequence, and it was always reused. It was the exact same thing every single time, except for they cut in different places at times. But as I remember it anyway, the original series, it was the same thing. And they flash in front of Castle Grayskull. In this, they put like the spirit of Grayskull behind him. It's like a cloud Grayskull. Um,
Yeah, I
it's
think
just
I
really, yeah, it's
saw
really
that.
brief. And of course, his clothes disappear, and then everything builds onto him. And and yeah, they I wouldn't say long. It's drawn out in a sense where you're seeing everything
Mhm.
happen. Um, but you kind of also have to think of that as all of this is happening at the same time, but they're zooming into different places at different moments while this is happening. And
Mhm.
yeah, he's kind of raised up into the air, and they do make a joke when they come back where he's looking down at his body and he's impressed with what's happened. And
Yeah.
uh I you should watch the interview on YouTube with Dolph Lundgren and him, Nick Galitzine, I believe is how you pronounce his name, where
Mm.
they're talking about everything and how they're talking about how they had to build up and their bodies were on display, not like superheroes today that are wearing suits and they got all this padded fake muscles and stuff like that and CGI, the Hulk or whatever. They actually had to create the character, create the muscles and all this and play it on screen, which is something we missed. We did not go, which I think was a break in the day. He went on break to go to the gym where he met Dolph Lundgren. I've already said it's all
Mhm.
spoilers. Great scene. I still
Yeah.
don't understand the statements.
I
You
don't
gotta
even understand. Yeah, what he said,
don't get in
no
front of
idea.
yourself. The front's a
But,
facade. You gotta bank yourself because you can do anything. What is
I
this
mean, I tried to
philosophy?
understand it, and I was like,
But yeah,
Okay.
but good journey,
Alright. Yeah.
kid. That's just great. So, um, but yeah, it was good to see them there, and of course, it's a wink and a nod. The last shot of Adam is his face turned to the side, and he gives a smile, which you would expect with him, being on screen with Dolph Lundgren. Uh, you know, passing of the torch, kind of. Those are great things, like passing of the torch moments. Like you had that in Smallville with Tom Welling and Clark Kent, the Christopher Reeve, being in scenes together, even though Christopher Reeve's not playing the Superman character at all. But that's still a passing of the torch kind of moments. Of amazingly um, fun, and it doesn't work for everything. You shouldn't have that in everything, but um, it was really cool. Um, but anyway, back to here and his fighting. I thought that fight scene was really good. It was interesting to see him punch Trapjaw and say "ow," like it hurt him, um, which is almost like saying that he's growing into his power too, because he wouldn't be doing that later on when he punches through um, or grabs the that flying buzzsaw. I guess is the best thing I would call it right now. He grabs that to stop it. Shortly after this scene, so he's not saying "ow" anymore. Things like that. Um, but yeah, that whole sequence, and this movie is so full of action. There's action to the next thing of action, even on Earth when you know it's sort of slows down. Um, there's this quick pace to it. The scenes in the office are quick paced. One, cut to another,
Mhm.
uh, and so not that it slows down. It picks up the action scenes. It has, of course, very at the very beginning the action on Eternia, and then picks up with Beast Man. When Beast Man returns, of course, he goes to Skeletor. That whole scene is funny too, where you get that pig
Mhm.
man that wakes up Skeletor. Um, if anyway,
Oh, that
um,
was really funny. I
it is
just
funny.
remembered. Were his, like, feet out? Like, the bones
Not the.
or
I don't think the
something?
bones. He didn't have boots on at the moment. His boots were sitting by the bed.
Um,
So, um, but I love his threat. He's just like, "Get my staff. If you drop it, I will grind you into sausage like your mother." And it's both funny and goofy, but at the same time,
it's
he's threatening them, and it sounds very,
in such,
nefarious.
like, a bored way. Just, like, the way that he threatened him was like, "Just go," like, it was so I wanna use the word, like, nonchalant in the way that he was
Yeah.
saying, like, he just did not care
hmm
at all. That's
And the
why I love him.
interaction
I love Skeletor.
the interaction with the beast. He's sitting there pushing down on his head. I love the last statement.
Was
He
he
said,
saying
"This
lower,
really
lower?
hurts." Yeah, it was lower, 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 but he finally says, "Please stop. This really hurts." The way that line is delivered is hilarious. And then he and Evelyn are talking. Evelyn's she doesn't she plays the character different than I think anybody I've ever seen in any of the other iterations. It's usually she's evil and she's mean, kind of like, but she plays sort of goofy, if you know what I mean. You know how she played it. She plays it sort of goofy. Open eyes. Yes, we'll remember that for next time. As you were saying in the earlier scene,
Yeah.
this is the crescendo. Good good for next time. I forget how she says it, but it was really well delivered. I thought it was funny. It's also gotten criticism because that's not really the way she's ever otherwise played. Um, and you didn't. I don't think at any point in this film you got a sense of the way she has been otherwise played. Comes close with the fight scene toward the end, but
Yeah, at
it's
the
never
yeah.
really super serious, and it sort of jokes it away a little bit too. What's going on? Um, and we're like I said, we're not even there. um, but at that moment, you also see the behavior of Skeletor. I love the portrayal of Skeletor, and he's not. It's not laughed off, and like at that moment, in that after scene of Beast Man, when the Beast leaves, and she's talking to him and saying, "What more do you need than this? You have me. You have this staff." He's saying, "I can lose it all." And he grabs her arm, and just his evil toward her is just intense, and again shows things that we should look at as actual lessons in the world. It's there are women out there like Evil Lynn that go after the bad boy, if you will, that treats them badly, but then they just stay with them. There's no reason for it, no purpose. Um, you know, in the cartoons and stuff, it's portraying it sort of like she has a plan to take over. But in this movie, it doesn't necessarily play it that way. Whether or not that's going to happen, maybe that's be a future installments. But this one, it's just like she's kind of his sidekick, and I don't even know if she's necessarily intrigued by him being evil toward her. But yeah, he has a poison touch to him, which is interesting. This is not
Yeah,
played
I was
anywhere
gonna ask what
else.
that was.
It's
Oh,
just
it's not?
it's for this
Okay.
movie. Yeah, they kind of came up with it that way because he grabs her throat in another scene, and he grabs her arm in this one, and grabbing Adam does the same kind of thing, a little bit of it anyway. Um, so yeah, but oh goodness, we're kind of going overtime, and we're only probably maybe halfway through the movie. But it keeps playing like that. What else maybe stands out to you um, as we go through up to the battle in Snake Mountain?
Um, this is the whole, like, fight scene in the sky
Mm-hmm.
and all that kinda stuff, right?
Yeah, that time in the woods when they crashed, and
Oh, um, I really liked that little scene where he picked, like, the spaceship up,
mm-hmm.
and then she was, like, so, like, in awe that she didn't move, and he was like, "Dude, it's quite heavy, like, it's could you" like, it's
It's
I
great.
just love that because like and also that comes back to what I was thinking earlier about if he had gotten, like, super like, people expect him to get super, super, super buff. I don't think that would have been a good idea because I personally find it a lot more impressive, albeit it's obviously much more superhero-ish and, not believable for someone not of Hulk stature or, like, big guy like The Rock to pick something up like that, or even with both hands or something, and then
Mm-hmm.
just the way that he did it, I thought it was very funny, and it was a l you can I lost my point, like, halfway through, but I was saying, like, it's it's cooler to see it that way than just a
Mhm.
big guy doing it. 'Cause
Right.
normally this size guy wouldn't be able to do it. This big guy, maybe he could do it. Like, that's a human being. This is a guy with powers,
Yeah.
you know? And also, I
Yeah.
don't think he would have looked good super, super, super buff. I personally don't like it when people are extremely buff. I don't like bodybuilders and stuff like that, but, like, I just think it looks a little crazy
Yeah. I would think
to
bodybuilder
me.
is
But yeah.
extreme, and I think they maybe wanted something a little bit more and less than
Yeah.
bodybuilder. Although the bodybuilders I think about usually are like Lou Ferrigno and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and they're pretty
It's
big, but there's
as
bigger people than that out there.
yeah,
But yeah, but things
yeah.
somebody like Alan Richson, who plays Reacher,
I
he's
see,
big.
that is like he's a very big human. You know what I mean? Like, that's, like,
Mhm.
how it's like, if
Eh,
he had played He-Man, it would have been I wouldn't have been as into it maybe. I'm trying to understand what I'm trying to say as I
I know.
say
I
it,
think I know
'cause
what
it's
you're
not really
saying. I
making a
think
whole
he's
lot of
on the larger
but, like,
side than he should have been.
I really like Alan Richman. I like the stuff that he's in, like, Reacher, I haven't finished, and the what is it? The League of Ungentlemanly Warfare,
Yep.
is that the full title? I really
Something
liked
like
that
that. It's
movie,
not quite.
but
Yeah, it's really good.
what's the actual the
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 Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare,
Ministry?
something like that.
I don't know why I said League.
It's
Ministry.
anyway. It's really good. Yeah.
Justice League, because Henry Cavill's in it. I just um, no, that's a really good movie. Yeah, but I really liked that he was not crazy buff. And that I just really liked that scene.
Yeah.
That scene was so funny.
It's funny.
It
Yeah.
was so good.
It's sad they
I thought it was
spoiled
very
it
funny.
before the movie came out though. They released that scene
Yeah, that would
and
have
they
been a
shouldn't
good scene
have.
to not spoil. Like,
Yeah.
those little tiny, like, jokes and stuff, you just wanna leave them in the movie
Yeah.
and not
And
put
then
them in
the
the
friend zone
trailer
scene.
because
Yeah. You heard what
yeah.
I said, right? The friend zone scene.
Yeah, was that in the trailer or no?
No, it wasn't. It's just the movie, but I don't know.
That
I don't
was
know how I feel about it. Yeah, I'm kind of mixed in my feelings about it. But you gotta wait
I
for a
feel like
little
it's
while.
not gonna be Friend Zone next movie.
Probably not. Who knows?
Maybe. They seem to be getting a little closer at the end of the movie, so
Yeah. Well, probably in the
to
sequel
me.
they're going to introduce other possible love interests and stuff like that. Because that's all in the cartoons. That exists. And Tila being jealous exists in the cartoons. So there's always been that play, you know. Probably have Evelyn come up and be in disguise and be a love interest, and they could go in so many directions. They can make five
I
movies
wanted
and it would all be great.
I wanted to ask about Evelyn because I know I've got some of, like, the toys, and she's probably in my room somewhere,
Hmm.
right, at the house, but I feel like I seem to remember her having long hair, and it kinda threw me off when I saw her because I was like, I feel like she's
Hmm.
supposed to look different
It
and
depends
act
on the
different, but I've
portrayal.
never seen her act different.
Yeah. It just depends on the
Does
portrayal. In some of the
Did the toys have long
cartoons,
hair?
she's got long hair. She basically is wearing a helmet all the time,
Like a helmet?
like she wore in this, and it kind of keeps
But
all her hair up.
in this one, she had, like, a bob, though, and a helmet, I thought,
Yes, her hair is
unless I'm
short
wrong.
in this. It's not super short. It's just down here.
It's like a
Um,
shoulder length bob.
yeah, and in the other movie, it's all braided up or something on her head, so you can't really tell. And
Mm,
it's not an exact kind of replica thing, but it's really tight to the head, so you can't see. But I'm sure that um, oh, I almost lost her name. I did lose her name. Meg Foster is her name, with the brilliant blue eyes from the '87 movie. Um, she would have had longer hair, if they did let it down. But they did have it be white, which growing up, I don't think we ever had a toy that had the ability to take off the helmet. So we never saw her like that. She always just had a helmet, like the old cartoons and stuff. So this kind of mixed some of the new and that the older, and she has white hair, in this movie, and I thought it did fine. They could have done it either long or short. I think short works to fit inside the helmet really easily, and not have to explain much, with that. Um, but yeah, at the same time, they could have made it long hair. It would have been fine too, and they could do that in the next movie. You always have her grow her hair. Um,
mhm.
I think she did really well. That whole, I mean, I think she did, and yet I can see some people's point that that seems to be a weakness for them. That Evelyn wasn't all that evil and stuff like that. Wasn't all that um, menacing or anything.
Gotta watch something so I can have another comparison in my head.
Yeah, I mean the
I
original
think I
cartoon is probably the best thing to start comparing it to.
mm,
So, and then you just see how she behaves with that. Um, but yeah, like I said, so much that can happen. Now, all of that we haven't even gotten to um, the jokes, but the discussion with Adam there in the forest is extremely important, and so telling, because it was exactly the way he said it was brilliant, and you should definitely see that again to catch all the words. But you know, Adam or He Man is saying, somebody's running towards your family to attack them, with a sword or whatever he said. He said, "What do you do?" He said, "You fight them, right? You're going to fight them." He said, "No, you protect them." And that's the difference in the way, and he says it right there. He says, "You're looking at it wrong." And so many people get that wrong. It's like men that will attack somebody that attacks their family do it for the protection of their family. It's not some bloodlust and stuff like that. And he mentions that too, though. When wars need to be fought, you're not going to the poets and stuff like that. These people that that supposedly make this art and things like this. You make fun of the the tough guys or whatever, the man with the gun and that fights, but he's the one that wins your wars, you know. And that was very, again, interesting telling to me too. It's just the way it was said was really well said, and the lesson behind it's really good. And it's not trying to be per se insulting to people that don't get that. It's trying to reach out to them with the message that this is the way things should be viewed. This is how um, this is going to be done. Uh, this is a real man, that kind of thing. Um, and it goes on. Of course, the Skeletor in the sky, as I understand it, is from the '87 movie when they did the hologram in holograph, whatever you want to call it. The um, I don't know what to call it. Is it a It's not a hologram, is it?
It's in a hologram.
Is it a hologram?
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason, it just
Yeah.
sounded wrong. But the hologram in the sky is in the '87 movie. I don't remember it being in the old show, and it's been redone in newer shows too. Um, but that whole thing is great. Just seeing Skeletor sit there and say stuff. The little jokes are in there. Didn't necessarily have to be too. I think that was an improv from Idris Elba. So he said that. It was very very good, very funny. Um, uh, but it's an interesting speech. Of course, the the I guess the reveal that mom and dad are alive. So come to Snake Mountain to get them. They go on to Snake Mountain. They're walking off. Um, I think there could have been a little more haste to them departing there, but that's about it. Yeah. But in the cartoon, they're running all the time. They're like always running around everywhere. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's it feels like that scene was also cut short a little bit too. There's something else that's out of it, but it just happens really quick. Which this is being said, and then all of a sudden they're going to go. You know, um, and I think that the design for Snake Mountain's really cool. You get to see Zor, or the bird. You know, Sorcerer's Flying is the bird, and um, the world building of it's really interesting. And I just mean the scenery. Like you look at this stuff, and a lot of this stuff is sets that they went on. But anyway, there when you see things from a distance, and you're able to look at different pieces and parts, the statues that were in the beginning and later on, because they, when they get knocked down later, um, it's a whole sequence there. But the the world building, I guess I try to pay a little more attention to it somewhat right now because I I watched Rebel Moon, and then I'm reading the novel. And as I'm reading the novel, it's describing these different worlds and the way they are. The same thing happens with Star Wars, where they go to a different world, and it's like this is a desert planet, and they show you, some different images of the desert part, and then they go to a water world where it's all, rain and stormy
Mhm.
and everything, and then there's a beautiful, you know, uh, world somewhere else, Naboo or something like that, and then there's the city world. There's all this different thing, and Eternia, the world has different places, mountains and stuff like that, and the the enchanted forest and all this stuff, and it builds on that. So it only lasts on the scene for a second on the screen when you're sitting there watching. It just like flashes and goes over, and then it's done. But if you take the time to try to focus in on it, you see what they're trying to say with it. Is what I'm pointing toward. Um, and that's where Skeletor chooses to live. Is this thing called Snake Mountain, which Snake Mountain itself is cool, but it's also in this desert area. It's really interesting. But anyway, um, and the whole fight scene, epic fight scene when they get in there and he's fighting with all the Skeletor little minions, you know, uh, guys with masks or whatever, wearing helmets from John Wick. It's the same guy every single time. but, but that was really cool. And of course, he's stabbing people with his sword. Awesome. Punches uh, Devil Man. I forget what his name is. Um, off into the lava, so I assume he's gone, but he'll probably show back up. Um, but yeah, they really do a great job with the action in that, and they showcased then Evelyn's powers in stopping He-Man from basically moving and attacking. That was very
Mm.
interesting. It
Is
took a
that like
little
a
bit,
normal power she has?
something like that. They always have weird powers. It's like they're magic powers. They point at something and a blast comes out. So yeah, the blast from Skeletor's Havoc staff, which is what it's called, uh, to first hit his mom at the beginning before he goes through the portal. We skipped over that whole part. That was all very interesting. Um, but uh, but yeah, and then that, and I guess after I watched a review that explained it this way, I was like, oh, okay, I see it that way. I wasn't sure which way to think about it, but he, he breaks free of that and points the sword, and supposedly that's the magic comes off the sword and hits the wall behind his dad and Skeletor, and ultimately causes the roof to collapse. And I'm sitting there thinking while that's happening, I'm like, jump over there, stop this from happening. I'm thinking he's going to jump like Wonder
Same.
Woman jumped, on top of Aquaman to save his dad, but he didn't do it.
It's like, dude,
But
move.
he was so surprised and in shock about it, um, that I can understand him not doing it. But at the same time, it's like I kind of wanted him to. Um, and you could
Mhm.
still say that he, succumbed to you know, um, just all the years of torment from Skeletor and stuff like that. Ultimately, but anyway, yeah, I wasn't sure what to think about it first, and then and the other times that I've seen it, I'm like, okay, it's interesting. It's the one way to take it. They could have done it something different, but you could say that about kind of almost everything. Um, and I love that they. It's interesting. I love it because they brought this character in, Karg. I want to call him Krang, but that's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But Karg, um, is the white-haired, um, brown face, really weird looking face, uh, with the hook for a hand. You remember who I'm talking about? He's the one that He Man stabbed through to the
I
ceiling.
s-
But he's in the '87 movie and was introduced to it in the '87 movie. They has a whole lot more words in the '87 movie. In this,
I
he
think
just
I
gets a
remember
few
him in that
seconds.
movie.
Yeah. He gets just a few seconds in this movie. The funniest part, or the one, I don't know. He grabs the sword and he has it in his hand. And he's going. It was like, what was that? But it works still for the film. And anyway, that whole scene is a great epic fight scene. Of course, he's trying to get the Skeletor, several times in it, and never does. He does not get to attack Skeletor uh, in that whole sequence. So Skeletor says at the beginning of the sequence,
Yeah.
he says, "I win, I always win," or something like that. He says, "And I cheat," and then of course all his minions come up behind him. Um, but that was good. And does anything stand out to you in that, or you want me to keep going?
Um, Not really. I liked it, but nothing. I mean, I liked the whole scene. So
Yeah.
and I'm I'm losing
No,
consciousness
I
just
understand,
a
and
little bit.
we'll rush. We'll try to rush to get through to the
Yeah,
end.
I liked the cell scene as well. There was more like I liked that little joke that Idris Elba said about like what what did he say about like sharing your feelings or something like that, or
Uh
like the
huh. They go
feelings
through the
thing.
feelings thing.
Something he said.
All these discussions, I think, were amazing discussions. The two with well, three really with Duncan, but but the two um uh back on Eternia. Um, the the talk with his dad. He gets to talk to his dad. And I cry at
Mhm.
that. I'll admit that I actually tear up and cry. And but it was kind of hard to catch everything at first, and I miss things all the time. I have to have the
Yeah,
subtitles on to read, but the things that they say in that sequence is beautiful. And again, it goes to me saying this is how Adam remembers his life and how he remembers his dad at the beginning, sort of. And his dad says, "No, I didn't want you to be somebody different. I just wanted you to be able to protect yourself because you were so small. I wanted you to grow up to be strong, but I always wanted you to be you." This is my goodness, that's beautiful. And then he dies before Adam can say what he needs to say. And it's just like,
yeah,
oh, heart wrenching, man. That is so rough. Um,
that was not fun.
and and then of course he gets taken to the dungeon, knocked out, taken to the dungeon. He's Adam again. They escape from the dungeon. They work as a team. He has a little team building exercise or whatever. I thought that was all fine. That just all kind of worked and played his joke. How much do you bench? What is bench? Okay, we're gonna push these doors down. They do that. They of course. I think this is the scene that most people criticize. Where I can see, yeah, it didn't have to be done. They go and cough and stuff like that, which is not necessarily bad. I can accept it, but I can see where people's criticism is that that takes you out of the moment and doesn't let you finish, strong. Everybody in the theater, though, in that walk sequence, you're looking at all these different people walk. Everybody busts out laughing when Fisto throws his hair around. Everybody, every showing I've been to, all crack up at him throwing his hair back and forth. It's just, it is a moment that hits everywhere. It's so great. Um, and of course, they're escaping. They're like, "Where's the ships?" And the next scene is all these ships flying toward Gray Skull. Uh, Again, another great battle scene. You get all the different characters with their moments in the battle scene. You see Ram Man in this. Ram Man in had springy legs, and as a toy, man, she's springy legs. You scrunched him down and you pressed the button and he bounced and he flew through the air like that. And they do that pretty well in the movie to show that his legs are like springs. And there's a couple decent shots where he jumps and flying through the air and lands and stuff like that. All, of course, leading up to them getting to Snake Mountain. Cringer, of course, was reintroduced there. That's the one probably line which doesn't make a lot of sense to me or probably anybody else. Can I lick you
Grayskull.
now? It's like that's not what
Oh,
he would have
yeah,
done. Just not what he would have done. He'd have jumped on him, like Adam, and leapt on top of him, and that would have been great. I think. Um, so people have criticized that line too, and I think that probably is the right thing to do. So you can criticize that. Um, and of course, his line. Next time I'll be in armor. Next time I have to be in armor or something like that. Uh, foretelling us there's another movie coming. We're gonna get to see it. Um, I don't mind that he didn't play just a fraidy cat, but he jumps in, carries them into the palace and jumps on some of those guards, and then he fights with Beast Man, and that plays for a good comedic comic uh, or cartoonish joke when when Adam or He Man says something like, "I'm gonna make a proposition to you" or something to that effect, and it cuts to them. Uh, Battle Cat's mouth is on top of the Beast Man's head, and they go, "Huh?" And their eyes widen, and they look over that direction, and just interrupts the fight. That I think is hilarious. It's really good. Um, and of course, the whole thing about Skeletor not being able to wield the sword and claim the power, I thought was interesting because every other iteration it's like he can get the sword and he can become master of the universe. He can claim that for himself. Not the 87 movie played it differently. He claimed the sword, put it into Castle Grayskull, but he didn't hold it aloft and all that and say the words. But in the cartoon, he's constantly trying to do that, and he does it several times. In the Kevin Smith Netflix one, that's what most of that is about. Is him becoming God Skeletor and stuff like that. Um, but I thought that was well played, and we don't know for sure if whatever Evelyn said was true. She was going to work magic and um, he was going to be able to wield the power then and stuff. But what else maybe stands out to you toward that end sequence where uh, he comes back in, grabs the sword, and then there's a little bit of fight with him and Skeletor, right? And then Skeletor does this mind stuff, grabs his head and is transporting him to different places.
That was really cool. I thought I just remembered that he was, like, on the date with him, like, as the gir like, that was hilarious.
Yeah,
Or, like, something like that, like, he was behind I don't remember exactly. And then the boss's reaction, like, that she could actually see them.
that was
Um,
funny.
I can't remember where else they were.
Human
Um,
resources. It was so good.
but that was really funny.
Seeing him in the
I can't
gym,
remember the entire, like,
they cut to
monologue
the
he had.
gym and he's sitting there just pumping this big
Oh,
200
yeah,
pound
just
thing or whatever.
that was hilarious. That was
He's got
so funny.
he's got a Nike swoosh that's made of bones. It's like a skeleton. It's like,
He does?
yes, you got to look at it as close as you can. It's cool looking. It's funny.
Oh,
And there's all kinds of
that's
it's a
so good.
real quick cut to this, that, and the other thing. Um, but that was funny. Jim Bro
So good.
Skeletor or whatever you want to call him, and the other guys were sitting around just watching him pump that 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 dumbbell. It's funny. Um, and the
Yeah.
dialogue there is
Um,
hilarious too. It's just he's just trying to play on
I can't
the
remember it well enough, but
insecurities.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard to remember because it goes from one thing to the next, and it was like as I remember it, he's like in a way he's threatening to go and take over Earth after Eternia falls to him and stuff like that. It's just it's a it's a really good sequence and cutting back and forth. Of course, there was little of the audience that was expecting for him to stab Adam. with the sword, what was left of the sword.
I didn't expect it either. I was
So
very surprised.
yeah, so that was very interesting.
I was very surprised and confused and scared he was gonna die, but I was like, "There's no way he could die. That doesn't make any sense." But also, like,
Who
please
knows?
don't die right now.
And um and he has the discussion with um the sorceress, which the sorceress was well
I
played,
liked
I
that
think, through
scene.
the whole movie. Everything was very well done. And yeah, the sorceress talks to him and says, "What do you say when you raise the sword?" So and it's reminiscent. Other people said this. It's reminiscent of Odin talking to Thor in whatever way he did, and said, "Are you the god of hammers? No, you're not the god of hammers, right? The god of thunder, right? That the hammer's just a vessel or a wielding point or
Mhm.
something like that." And so that all plays out really really well, I think, all the way through the end. And um, I wouldn't necessarily say I was expecting it to go exactly that way, where he stops, puts the sword away, and says, "Make this proposition to you. Let me talk to you." Um, before they go into a further fight, but I think they played it really well. And the point is this man, He Man, is facing off somebody that's trying to destroy and threatening everything around him, all that He Man loves and cares for. And he says, "I'm going to give you a chance. You can correct your way. You can do this." And I like that they play Skeletor as just plainly evil. Uh, as Tila said earlier in the thing, it's like he's evil. You know, when Eternia is ruined, he's evil. No, there's got to be more to it than that. His face is a skull. You know, that's nothing. There's nothing more to it than that. His face. I like the effects of how they do Skeletor's face. They move the bones around. It's not just a
Yes,
jaw flapping, but it crunches down a little bit. And there are moments
and then,
where
like, the red eyes, yeah.
his eyes widen. It's like you see it. It's like, yes,
I
that's
love
beautiful.
everything about Skeletor. It's so good. It's not too cartoony, and it's not, like, super realistic, like, just the jaw and the
Hmm.
eyes aren't moving at all or anything like that. It's just it's it's
And
it's
his
a
jaw
such
moves,
a
and
good sweet spot right in the middle.
it's great. They got that
Such
just
so
right.
good.
And
Such a
his
good mixing of, like, reality and fantasy. It's I
yeah,
love Skeletor in this movie. So
and his
good.
statements at the end of it, that when Adams or He Man is trying to say, "I'm giving you a chance," and he says, "No, I'm evil. There's no there's no shadow of good in me, or what, a spark of good." And it's like, yes, that's great. We're not doing a Darth Vader thing. and there's a question as to who Skeletor is, because in some iterations he's like the uncle of or the brother of, you know, the king. I forgot his name already. Randor, King Randor, um, He-Man's dad. So there's the uncle of He-Man, or the uncle of Adam. And that's in a couple iterations, but and whether or not you wanted it to go that way, it's just it's we don't know for sure. So it's a good question as to where he's at. But I'm glad that they didn't do something like that, and try to play it like Darth Vader redemption arc kind of thing, um, which maybe they could do in a future, show, because they still have a lot of other villains that they can show. Um, which we'll get to in just a second too. But any other thoughts about the last fight?
really, not that I
Trying
can
to remember it a
remember
little bit.
specifically.
Yeah, he's
I really liked that. That was one of my favorite Skeletor scenes other than kind of the beginning and then, like, um, when he like, with the pig and stuff like that, and then in the sky. I
yeah.
can't remember what he said,
He
though,
kind of
I
he
know I
steals
remember
the
that being
movie.
funny.
Like every time he shows up on
Yeah,
screen, he's
yeah,
stealing. It's doing wonderful, but he doesn't steal the movie so much. Like some people say of
right.
the
It's not like
'87 movie, he's so good. The villain is such a good bad villain that it it doesn't allow the other characters to be as good as they could be otherwise. I don't know. That's it's kind of the criticism of that movie. Um, but yeah, he in this movie it kind of lifts everything up. It lifts the heroes are all lifted up by, or at least He Man is played by and played so well also that they play off each other really well. But that last scene is a little bit of sword fighting with the staff, and then um, and then of course he's punching Skeletor, which was just great. The slow mo moments of him punching him, and and the cracking of the skull and stuff like that. And
Mhm,
then Skeletor's like, "Is that all you've got?" And he says, "No, I was pulling my punches." And then sets himself up and just wails on him. Just beautiful, just like it's such a great lesson in manhood, all that stuff about that, and you know it's so well portrayed. Um, I just don't know how to say it other than that. Of course, uh, that finishes off ultimately Skeletor, as far as we know. Um, He Man grabs the head of the Havoc staff and whatever crushes it. Power bounces back from him, whatever it is, that explodes into a kind of mixed explosion because it knocks down the statues that are outside and knocks over Duncan, you know, and doesn't also destroy the walls that are standing around there. It's kind of weird how it's destructive in some ways and not in others. And I don't know, that stood out to me. That little bit about when the explosion happened, and Skeletor's skull just falls to the ground, and they go off uh, to the conclusion scenes where Tila changes into a little bit more cartoon accurate. People were complaining about not getting that version of it, so they got to have the version of it, and some ridiculous complaints, but I enjoy how they I believe, paid homage to the cartoons with their laughing, ha 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 ha, and leaning back and all that they do,
mhm,
and they get a few more jokes in, and, laughing at the end. What did you call me? And he calls her warrior goddess because that's what she was at the very beginning of the original comics of the toy release. She's the warrior goddess. There's more to it. There's a lot of stuff, but and then I I have mixed feelings about them making fun of him calling himself He Man, and you know, but I don't think that they laughed too much. I think some people took it as they were making fun of him too much and all laughing about it. I think that they had a decent amount of banter about it. And of course, he runs off, and it's the whole why is he running off? There's no real secret here. At the same time, in the movie, you don't really know that these other guys know he's He Man. There's no for sure that's him, but it's not a really good secret to try to keep. But they do that. It's a little
I
joke that he's running away to to change rather than changing in front of everybody. And they all stand around looking at him and chuckling about it. I think that last image, running Battle Cannon's, you know, sword raised to the sky was really good, and it cuts either to black or whatever, and brings up then Orko, which everybody wanted in the film. So you get to see him at the end and get the second movie in there, and you'll be able to see him throughout the whole movie probably. Um, but he gets to tell the lesson, the moral of the story, as they did in the original cartoons and in the 2000s remake. I've not seen the new adventures, so I don't know what they do there. Um, they don't really do that in the newer stuff though, that I can remember. I just started on the kids kind of show, so I'm not sure how they play it there. But that was a big thing about the '80s cartoon, and that's severely lacking in so much stuff today. Is they told you a moral of the story, and it was a meaningful little recap of what did you learn? What can you learn from this? You know, not being a bully, not doing things just because you think they're funny and at the expense of other people. All these little lessons, when you watch the cartoon, you'll see it was great for children growing up in my era to see all that. Um, and I'm glad that it extended into the 2000s. Apparently, from what I remember seeing when I was watching some of that, they still, I think, were doing that. But anyway, what was the next end scene? The next credit scene, right after the first credits. Oh, you wanted to talk about
Um,
it?
no, there was 3 end scenes. I thought this one was the last
Or
one.
Orko was the first one. The middle one,
Wasn't she in the last one, though? The 3rd one?
Evelyn was in the last one.
Oh, then the 2nd one was She-Ra
Shira.
in the distance, just from the back,
Yeah, they're showing the
which I'm excited
transformation.
about.
It's a very different
Mhm,
transformation that happens for her. And I was a little bit surprised by it because it really does show whatever she was wearing changing as it goes down. This
mhm.
little cascade. I was like, oh wow,
Like a
cool.
little
They really did
whirlwind,
it.
right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
there's pictures of the woman who did that online, but apparently they haven't really cast her. They just asked her to do that for a place setting, so that they could say, yes, we're gonna do this. It's like, yes, you're gonna do
Right.
this. That's
It's
exactly
understandable, yeah.
the thing to do, and you've got to introduce her with He-Man. You know, mixing the worlds. Whenever you decide to watch the She-Ra stuff, the first few episodes, as a story of the sword or something like that, um, is a
I mean, I've seen, probably the 1st season of the Netflix show.
well, it's not a Netflix show. The She-Ra. I don't know if there
No,
is a
the one,
Netflix
the
one.
She-Ra and the Princesses She-Ra either and the Princesses of Power or She-Ra the Princess of Power
I
or
think you're
She-Ra
right
Princess of Power.
with the first one
I
you
think it's
just said.
the
She-Ra and the
and the Princesses
Princesses
of
of
Power, and
Power.
it's got Catra and
Yeah,
yeah, and
that's a
Glimmer and all those characters. I've seen, like, this a season of that, which I enjoyed it. I just never finished it.
that's yeah. It's 2018 though. That's not the original one,
Yeah, I know. I haven't seen I
and I
probably
haven't
need to watch. I'm
I
just
haven't
saying
seen
that
it,
I have
so
seen that.
I don't know if they retell the story the same way. The point is that they tell the story a particular way in the '80s cartoon, and so they bring She-Ra in with He-Man in a certain way. Um, and I don't want to spoil it for really anybody out there that's because this is the next movie. This is not this movie. I'm spoiling this movie. That's all. Um, but it I'm hearing it's been announced even with the performance being disappointing in a way, at least financially. Because this movie, and I'm telling you, theaters were mostly full when I went.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I don't know how
Same.
this is not doing better financially, uh, or how it possibly could be doing worse than Scary Movie, which is terrible. I wouldn't even pay for that.
Uh,
I wouldn't even pay for a free ticket for that one.
Everybody likes scary movies. Scary movies like
It's
a cult
so
classic at
dumb,
this
though.
point. Even though they're dumb, they're supposed to be dumb, I'm pretty sure.
They're supposed to be dumb,
There
but there's a way
some
to
of
be
the I'm
funny
pretty
and
sure
dumb, and
there's
they didn't catch it. They did not get it. It's not
not
funny.
in this one, because I
No,
know there's some of the earlier ones are funny, because I've seen
sure,
clips.
yeah,
I haven't been able to watch them yet though, but yeah.
yeah, but it lost its funny a while ago. But I want to say just the first one had the Waynes, which come back for this one, and so it's literally I said somewhere it's a scary movie. I know what you did 26 summers ago. You know, it's so stupid. It's so dumb. It's not even dad joke funny. It's so full of stupid. Yeah, but anyway, but like I said, even with this sort of, but again, it came back up two in the rankings, so maybe it has legs. Maybe it gets on down the road. I think that um, the budget is overinflated because they probably included buying the rights and everything, which can be used in future movies for a while. So it doesn't really apply just to this movie, but they're not really thinking about all that, I think. Um, but they apparently, what I've said several times now, have announced there's a sequel coming. So the movie has a sequel in development. It's going to be put out. The question will be whether or not they do a direct to streaming release instead, um, and that kind of thing. Um, but yeah, like I said, the budget of this was inflated with Netflix had spent $30 million. Netflix is going to make its money back by selling it, so it sold it with its rights and said we want this money, blah blah blah. I think that whole budget is not quite that high for the actual movie. It's more the ability to have it and make all these movies and shows and stuff like that. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, the question is whether or not they'll release another one in theaters, or if they'll just release movies, like Netflix, just streaming. It's the one thing I don't like about Netflix is that you cannot, unless you get a bootleg, you can't get these movies. They won't release them on Blu-ray or 4K or whatever. And they'd make more money doing that. It's a little bit of money, but they want people to subscribe, and it's just a way you know, to add to your subscriptions. It's too much, It's just I like what's there. Like I said, I want Rebel Moon so bad. All four uh, uh, of them, and then they're supposed to be creating a series and stuff like that. But unless Netflix starts releasing stuff, you know, can't own it at home, or I have to get the bootleg stuff. It's just expensive. But any other? Let's see. Oh yeah, that was the Shira scene and Promise of the Future. Love the scene. Just the everything that was in it. It's really cool. And anyway, and then the final scene of the movie is sort of. Evelyn, and we didn't even talk about Evelyn's fight with Tila. They're doing a really good sword fight, sword and staff fight, I guess.
Mhm.
And she stops Tila in the similar way that she stopped He-Man earlier with her magic, and just good dialogue there. But that's a really good scene. And at the end, she kind of appears out of nowhere, right, and picks up the skull. You remember what she says to the skull?
No,
Not quite. Some like you've
I
looked
can't
better,
remember.
you've had better days, or something like that. And she, of course, swings around and to walk off and fade to black.
And then
Fantastic movie.
Skeletor's laugh, right?
Skeletor laughs when it fades to black.
That I liked that.
I I don't think that was necessary because right now he's just a skull. But
Nah, I need him to
I'm
come
okay
back.
with it. I
I
think
need
it's
him to
still
come.
fun. I love the end of the '87 movie when he pops out of the water and says, "I'll be back." That's great. Um, and of course, never made it, but they could do an old He-Man. They could do a remake, or not remake, but a sequel if they wanted. Doing everything else sequels like that, they could do a sequel to the '87 with Dolph Lundgren in it and Frank Langella. Old He-Man. It'd be pretty cool.
Yeah,
You got a
I
star
I
rating
liked
for
it a
this
lot
thing?
though. I liked the movie a lot. 10 out of 10 from me.
10 out of 10 for you. Okay.
Yes.
And of course, I tend to not give things much like that. 10s out of 10s. Because I can see little flaws, little things with
I just
the
have trouble
stuff.
rating movies. I like a movie and
No,
it's a 10 out of
that's
10.
the way
Michael
you
was a
should do
10 out
it.
of 10 for me, other than like
That's the
they
way you
couldn't
should do
put
it.
everything that they wanted to put in there. And that was just the only
It'd
disappointing
have
thing. It
been
wasn't
7
fully
hours
accurate because
long.
of that.
It'd have been 7 hours
It
long if they would have put
will
it all.
be.
Hopefully.
We're getting a part two. We know it. I've seen. Oh my goodness! I saw leaked pictures of Jafar as
Mm-hmm.
Michael in like the mature era, like him older.
Usually, yep.
I'm astonished because he looks so good. I didn't know how they were gonna do that, but and like Neverland being recreated, I'm very excited, and also I will cry in the second movie so much. I know I will because I know what's gonna happen in the second movie.
Well,
I'm not
we
ready
don't know
for
for
it.
sure what's going to happen because they
I'm
got to
pretty
jump
sure at least
over
something will be said.
they got to jump over
I
legal
cried in the first one,
hurdles.
I'm gonna cry in the second one.
Yeah. I mean, they got to go through
I
some
cried
different
in the
things.
Pepsi burn incident
Oh, it was terrible.
twice.
It was, and that's not even really, I mean, you can see videos of the actual happening and it's like, "Whoa, it's yeah, I mean, it was all on video. So that still exists. It's just people don't show it much. So yeah, it was very interesting. I heard something that's really cool. Is probably the last thing. We're on Michael instead of Masters, but in that, I mean, back to that serious moment when his head caught on fire. Um, Apparently, Marlon Brando's son like was able to jump a barricade and was the first one to get to him, patting him out. So Marlon Brando was Jor-El in Superman, the Christopher Reeve one. So very famous actor that you may not know much of, but many people
I
know
think
him.
so.
But his son was there and was helping Michael in that moment. I don't know if that actually made it to the film or not and stuff like that. The thing with the sequel to Michael is they've got to get the other people in the film. They've got to get Janet in the film. They got to get, you know, they could not do the rest of his story without Janet. They can't. It's not possible. They could get away with maybe
I
not
don't
doing the story with his older sister. His older sister, I think it's Reggie. I forget her full name, but you got three sisters, and they were all involved. But it's amazing what they did without Janet in this film. But to try to do a sequel and to not have Janet exist and the making of Scream, um, I don't see how they would do it.
Yeah, 'cause I love Scream, and I don't know if they're gonna be able to it's gotta do something with legal. Janet, she's still alive, so she
She's
has to
alive. She just did not allow them to
there's
do
a
it.
she didn't wanna be in it because she's
There's
still
all
m
kinds of
mourning,
theories about it, but
is what
so
I have
nobody
heard.
knows for sure.
Her and his daughter as well, like, don't wanna be in it because of that reason. Paris.
Maybe, but like I said, there's theories about it, and um, we'll find out. I mean, we'll find out if they are able to make the next one with her in it. But back to Masters of the Universe. Last thing you said, 10 out of 10. I would give it just a chunk less than that, like 9.5 out of 10. Just for the flaws that
Maybe.
I see, like little glitches here and there, and that's all. That's just because it's not flawless, and I may be overrating it for myself just for the nostalgia and my enjoyment of it, and that I'm glad they didn't go the routes they could have gone, and that they were talking like they were going to go and stuff, which I think is what the reporting on this has led to people saying that this is no good, and stuff like that. It's like they started out thinking this is the way it's going to be, and they see little glimpses of that, and they perceive it differently. So I think the film has so much to do with your perception and the way that you look at different things, and and it it warrants being watched several times to really see all the different things and to try to look at it from some different perspectives. Like I said at the beginning, he's telling his memory of 15 years before of what he remembers. And I think through the movie, the rest of it's like trying to say you're not remembering things quite right. Our names are not Fisto and Ram Man and stuff like that. Yeah, I know that's not your real name. It's just what I remember. I was a kid, you know, warrior goddess. I was a kid, stuff like that. And um, so I think it has to do with a lot of that. And so you watch it a few times. I think your perception should be able to be uh, moved about, if you will. You can look at it in a couple of different ways, and and also see Skeletor like that. It's like, oh man, so many people I think did not go to see this because they knew Jared Leto was in it. Uh, that's something Carson said at the end of the movie. He saw Jared Leto's name. He said, "Who is Jared Leto in this movie?" I was like, "That's awesome. That's awesome." Because you just totally don't know. Just that's great.
It was so good,
He was
and
so
nobody
good.
know I completely forgot until, like, halfway through the movie. I was like, "Oh, that's Jared Leto," because I didn't even I it wasn't because of his voice, I just remembered that you had told me while I was watching, like, the trailer. I was like,
Yep.
"Oh!" Like, it just dawned on me, but I couldn't tell by the voice or anything. It was like, "That's good."
Hmm.
And I end up liking Jared Leto characters. I liked him as the Joker, you know? I thought it was good,
I do too.
personally.
I keep waiting for the David Ayer cut to be released so that we can see Suicide Squad for what it was supposed to be and all of Jared Leto in it. It's like, uh, yeah, it's really. I think he does a really good job, and he's he's accused of things that are not necessarily true. One, and people just claim it, and then they dismiss him, and so forth. So, um, but apparently, people like him, and he does an excellent job doing what he does. Even in films I don't care for, it's like he did good for what he was portraying. I guess the way they were trying to do it. He does some obscure stuff that anyway. You just have to watch those things, but he's certainly not any part of any reason why the score is a little bit lower than perfect for me. It has to do with more technical stuff and cutting. The cutting of the film, there's several places where I see there was something else there that they took out. There was something missing,
Mhm.
moments of action more that are slightly missing, stuff like that. So I'm definitely looking forward to the next thing coming out. Um, it's I want to say it's going to be fun, and then uh, I would love to see like crossover stuff of all these things they have. Like Voltron is coming out. I wish it was going to come out in theaters, but they say it's only going to streaming. I really want to see that in the theater. But if we don't get to see it in the theater, it's kind of like um, Power Rangers. Power Rangers is a little bit later. It's out, right? There's several other cartoon shows that go along with that. That's for me is like Voltron, even Transformers, right? And He Man is all kind of in the same time frame. But for the sake of this comparison, I would love to see a crossover that has He Man and Voltron together. That would be epic to me. Like I keep wanting to see G.I. Joe and Transformers show up together in the same world and universe because they're really supposed to cross over that way. Um, that would be really cool. But anyway, yeah, I really want to see something like that. But that'd be 5 movies, somewhere around that they should probably have. It'd be really wonderful to see all these different movies come out. They put all these other things out that are trash. We're playing with something good here. Let's see it. I haven't gotten any of the new toys yet. Um, I'd
Mhm.
like to say I control
I need
myself.
Skeletor.
I'd like to say I'm in
I'll do
control of
that.
myself, but it's just because they haven't been in the they don't carry them at Walmart. So when I go to Walmart, it's like no, there's no He-Man toys. It's called Master of the Universe Chronicles. If you see them anywhere around there, by the way, that's the
Mm,
ones that are based on the movie.
okay.
So I have seen Skeletor one time, so it's pretty cool. And there's different
You
versions of
didn't
it
get
and
it?
everything.
You didn't get it?
No, I didn't get it because, like I said, it's I'm being good.
You gotta get
I
it for me.
I only saw it the one time. That's all. So maybe I can
Exactly.
try to go
Could
back
have
and find
grabbed
it.
it. That took the chance.
I wasn't sure. That's what it
But
was.
yeah,
I didn't know whether
yeah,
Chronicles was that or if it was something else, and I didn't want to grab it just because it was sitting there. So, but now, yeah,
yeah.
now I've got to get the mind of it,
Very good movie.
and I'll show you sometime
Very good movie.
the other Skeletors that I've gotten that you don't know about yet. So we'll see.
Take them.
All right. Well, I appreciate you joining me with this.
You
I'm
get me.
glad you liked the movie. We're gonna close this thing out. Stop the recording and join us in the next video, or me at least in the next video. I don't know that I'll ever get her back. All right.